What's up, everyone? There are two vetoes in play this week, and the target does not have a clue. They are going to end up on the block and probably sent out the door on Thursday night. We've got so much to talk about, so welcome to your live feed update. Alright folks, so we'll kick things off with a question that I've kind of been asking myself quite recently now that the numbers are dwindling down and, getting less and less and less. I keep asking myself, who is at the bottom of the Cookout? Because obviously that seems to be the alliance that's going to be there at the end, and of course then comes the unpredictability of who's going to be picked off first between those. Personally, I think Kyland, despite him being in power this week, I still think he's at the bottom of the Cookout, and I'd love to hear everybody else's sort of thoughts on the Cookout and who you think is at the bottom of the Cookout. So please let me know in the comment section below, folks, who you think, as I've said many times, is at the bottom of the Cookout. Britini was talking to Arza and Derek F at one point, and she was basically saying that she feels that the power clique in the house, obviously this is totally wrong, we know, she feels that the power clique in the house is Tiffany, Claire, Hannah, Derek X and Sarah Beth. That couldn't be more from the truth. They are people from all over different sides. Yes, I mean, I guess you can pair Tiffany and Claire up and Hannah and DX up, and Sarah Beth, that's the wild one, I guess, and especially with, Sarah Beth being so against Hannah, Hannah being against Sarah Beth, Tiffany being against Sarah Beth. It's a random group to put together, and I don't know, it was just kind of a bad read. But anyway, let's get on to talking a bit more about Britini, because she's going to be someone that we're actually going to be talking quite a bit about today. Kyland and Big D had gone on to tell Arza that Britini is likely going to be the replacement nom this week. So there you go, guys. She does not have a clue. Britini is totally in the dark with this. She does not expect to be going on the block at all, which is, it's tough stuff, but it's Big Brother, I guess. Claire was obviously initially the target this week, but after they found out Claire had received 50 BB bucks and they led to believe, Britini had got 100 BB bucks, which she did. They felt that Britini would be more of a threat further down the line, for other people getting the BB bucks. They felt, if Claire got 50 this week, she'll get 50 next week. I do think people may come through next week slightly and maybe nudge Claire up to 75 because they saw she was in a little bit of threat this week. And I think as well, remember always, it's not just us feedsters who are voting, it is people who just watch the show, without watching feed. So they obviously will see 45 minutes 3 times a week. So basically they're probably going to see a lot of Claire this week on the edited episodes, because Claire's a key player this week, being a nominee. So Claire might get some more votes next week, but with Britini out the house, she can't get votes, so that automatically bumps somebody else up to that 100 spot if Britini was not to get it again. So there you go, folks. Because I do believe Britini would probably get it again, because people have seen her in jeopardy this week. And if somehow she ends up on the block this week and dodges it again, 100% she's going to get those 100 BB bucks again. So it makes sense to get rid of her. It sucks. I like Britini a lot, but I'm guessing it makes more logical sense for them to get rid of Britini than it does Claire, if we're only talking about the factor of BB bucks and the high roller room. Day by day, there are more and more cracks being shown in the Cookout. So Arza was kind of trying to drop hints to Britini that she was going to be the target this week. That wasn't necessarily to do with the Cookout, but I feel like she's got that personal connection with Britini. But I don't think Britini was buying those hints. But furthermore, about the Cookout, Claire and Derek X were kind of like talking about the Cookout without saying the Cookout, if that makes sense. They were dancing around the idea that the Cookout existed without specifically saying that's the Cookout, or what the course of alliance is there with the Cookout. I think they kind of feel like something's going on, but they didn't exactly say it. Tiffany was kind of trying to drop hints to Derek X as well. I feel like Tiffany's realising it's, because people aren't necessarily being as loyal to the Cookout as she is. She's kind of feeling like, I agree with Tiffany. I think it's fair to kind of maybe stir the pot a little bit, because a group won't function if everybody isn't functioning within it. If not everybody is putting in as much effort as one another, I feel like Tiffany and Xavier are the ones that are holding it together right now. Tiffany's she's the planner. She makes all the plans. Xavier is the guy who holds everything together, and they're the only two I think that are really prevalent in that group. Don't get me wrong, I think the others are great. Hannah's great. Hannah's like Tiffany's kind of protege, she's going out and doing what Tiffany tells her to, but equally she's playing her own game as well, which is great. Arza, Big D and Kyland, I haven't got as much to say about. I still like all three of them, but I haven't got as much to say about that. But I feel like Tiffany's realising, not everybody's putting as much effort in as certain people are. So that's fair that she's kind of dropping hints to Derek X. But the question is, Derek X or Claire, are they actually going to do anything? Because I want to see them do anything. I like what the Cookout are doing. Y'all have heard me say that. I love their mission statement. I love how they are sort of saying, this alliance is bigger than any one of us, which it is. But for me, a Big Brother season, I like to see alliance has been broken, new alliance has been made, blindsides, backstabbing, and that's just my opinion. There's nothing else that goes into that. It's nothing to do with what I think of the Cookout. It's just my view on Big Brother in general. So yeah, I mean, I'm very interested in seeing if Claire or Derek X will do something. I did tweet, I think it was a day or two ago, I put out, I really am pulling for Derek X or Claire to win Head of Household this week, because I do think they will shake things up. If they're dancing around this idea, then they're probably going to put Xavier and Kyland up on the block and make a dent in the Cookout, not allowing all 6 of them to get to the final 6, totally scuppering the plans, which means they would have to scramble and replan everything for a final 5. So the plan for the veto ceremony, which is likely going to be today, is for Alyssa to not use her power of veto and for Kyland to use his power of veto on Claire. Claire would come down, Britini would go up as the replacement nominee, hell would break loose because Britini would not expect it. It wouldn't necessarily be a blindside eviction, but it will be a blindside nomination unless somebody was to clue her in beforehand. As we said, Arza was dropping hints, but I don't think Britini was picking up on them, so we'll see how that one goes. Things could be crazy because, I mean, in that conversation I forgot to talk about with Claire and Derek X, they were kind of discussing the possibility of flipping the vote to Big D, but unless somebody from the Cookout flip, they don't have the numbers. I mean, the worst it would be let me try and figure this out off the top of my head. Claire, Derek X, Sarah Beth, and Alyssa would have to vote together as the non-members of the Cookout, and that would only be 4. And then the other 4 who aren't on the block from the Cookout would vote that way. Then it would go up with tie, Kyland would break the tie and send Britini out the door, making it extremely hard. So they would essentially have to work, DX would maybe have to work to get Hannah on their side, Claire would maybe have to work to get Tiffany over, but I just don't see it happening. And to be honest, Arza could even flip, because Arza, even though she's close with Big D and Britini, I feel like she likes Britini more than Big D. But whether she's going to stay allowed to the Cookout, because listen, let's talk about last night's show for a moment. I even tweeted this as well last night. There's a lot of tweeting going on. I always talk about my tweets. But if there's going to be a crack in the Cookout, and not even if, when it comes down, if they all get to the final 6, Arza versus Kyland is going to be the first showdown, 100%. Arza is somebody, when she is pissed, she is not going to hide her emotions, she is going to go in guns a-blazing, and we've seen this. When Xavier was head of household, she was trying to get her point across. Kyland's head of household, she is... There's no... Listen, I love Arza, I think she's fantastic, but she doesn't think rationally. I don't think sometimes she kind of just goes in and it's her way or the highway sometimes. Listen, she hasn't been on the block so far, so she's doing something right, but I think the way she is acting sometimes when she doesn't get her way, or she or something isn't necessarily right in her eyes, she kind of just kicks off straight away. I really like Arza, though. I'm not disrespecting her in any way whatsoever. And obviously Kyland's shown to be kind of a reckless head of household in his second term, not his first term. Fantastic. Second term, yes. So Arza versus Kyland is going to be the first showdown, and heck, Arza could strike while the iron's hot and, do what Kyland doesn't want her to do this week and keep Britini around. It would make sense for her. I feel like she in some way thinks that Britini would be better for her game than Big D. So what's the logical thing to do? It's to keep the person around who's going to be better for your game. So yes, whilst the Cookout is a loyal alliance, I think Arza would realise that she could be gone sooner rather than later in the final 6 without Britini there than with Britini there. So you never know. All it takes is one person to flip from the Cookout and then things are blowing up in the house. That is all of your live feed updates for today, folks. I thoroughly hope you all enjoyed watching. I had an absolute blast recording today, as I always do. This week has kind of been a crazy one, left, right and centre. You all saw me at the beginning of the week kind of panicking that Claire was the target. Now that she's not, kind of a relief, but Britini's the target. I like Britini. Is the Cookout going to flip? There's so much to talk about this week, and all the factors are just Big Brother at its finest. So yeah, folks, so much fun to talk about. But I'd love to hear everybody else's thoughts, not just mine, in the comment section below. Let me know how you are feeling about Kyland as the head of household. Do you want Britini to go home this week? Are you happy that there's 2 power of vetoes? Are you enjoying the high roller room? Who's going to be the first to go out the Cookout? There's loads to talk about, folks. So as I said, let me hear your thoughts and opinions in the comment section below. But folks, I'll say as I always do, make sure you're staying safe, staying positive and staying healthy out there, and be kind to one another. But in the meantime, please don't forget to like, share, comment and subscribe. But until your next live feed update, I've been your host, Tom Vasey. Good night.